Hi everyone, welcome to the July 2020 edition of Farsight's Human News, the news show that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I am Courtney Brown, director of the Farsight Institute. Now, this episode is being published a few days late because of a ton of stuff that we have been going through to improve how we bring you the remote viewing news. You will see all the changes in a bit. So this edition of Farsight Human News is being released on July 3rd, and it forecasts the major news events that will happen during the month of July 2020. But first, here is a summary of the major stuff happening at Farsight. So as you know, we now have our new streaming service, farsightprime.com, where we are essentially unleashed. Now, don't get me wrong, we love YouTube, but with our own streaming service, we can do new things that would be impossible anywhere else. We also have a new studio and new capabilities, and we are gradually moving in the direction of a new type of remote viewing-inspired filmmaking. You will get a touch of the changes right now with this show, but much more is planned. All exciting. So stay tuned. At farsightprime.com, you get all of our major releases, past, present, and future. Plus, we have the extraterrestrial news show, Farsight's ET News, that is published on the 7th of each month, a week after this show that you're watching right now. Now, the extraterrestrials are watching you. It's time for you to watch them. Now, the next day, on the 8th, there is the Farsight Intelligence Briefing hosted by myself. This is live streamed to our farsightprime.com subscribers each month. Subscribers can join and ask questions live. The intelligence briefing is styled after the deep that normally is reserved for only national leaders, but which we think that you deserve even more than the national leaders. Only on farsightprime.com. Then, on the 15th of July, we will release our next major Farsight Mysteries project, the Eye of the Sahara. Now, this sometimes is called the Richat structure. It looks like a 25-mile or 40-kilometer diameter bullseye. It's located in west-central Mauritania and northwest Africa. Now, the first investigator thought it was the result of a meteor impact, but later investigators felt that it is a highly eroded volcano. Well, it is neither of those two things, and what it really is will shock you to your core. July 15th, 2020, only on farsightprime.com. Now, these major mysteries projects that we are releasing on farsightprime.com are actually building to something really big. They are pieces of a puzzle that, once assembled, will really rock you to your core. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that you need to assemble in order to see the bigger picture. Well, what I am telling you now is that the bigger picture is way bigger than what most people might imagine in their wildest fantasies. The key to understanding that bigger picture is understanding each of the individual pieces of the puzzle. The next piece of the puzzle comes out on July 15th. Then you will be ready for the shocker that is coming in mid-August. Keep watching and hold on tight. Additionally, on farsightprime.com, we have our economic forecast that comes out in the third week of the month. Last month, in June, it was a 2-month forecast for the SP 500. Now, I am fully aware that not everyone is interested in economic forecasts, but these forecasts give us a window into the larger picture of the developing human drama. The news that is bigger than what you see on your televisions each day. What happens on the streets today is so closely tied to what happens economically worldwide. So, watch the remote viewing economic forecast also. It is like watching the news, but through a different window. The next one is out in just a few weeks, during the third week of July. We also have begun to live stream presentations with our viewers. We do those live on YouTube and the next day post edited versions with improved audio and video on farsightprime.com. Last month in June, we had live stream presentations with Trudy and Kahmia Dunson. Lots of people participated, they had great fun, and they learned a lot about what goes on behind the scenes in their lives at Farsight. Again, these were live streamed to the general public on Farsight's YouTube channel, Farsight Press. The edited versions of these events with improved audio and video can be found on farsightprime.com as well as our YouTube channel, Farsight Press. So, how do you hear about these things so that you can participate and get the absolute latest when they happen? Well, we use our email list and YouTube to make our major event announcements. So, there are two things that you need to do. First, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel and remember to click on the notifications bell that appears after you subscribed. That is the only way YouTube will notify you of the new events. Just subscribing doesn't do anything. The notifications bell is the important part. Second, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. Those are the only two ways that you can hear about the live streams and our new events. Be sure to do both. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Farsight Press, and subscribe to our free email newsletter on our website. The links are in the description area below this video. Those are how we announce what we do. Finally, Princess Jeaneé continues to teach our version of remote viewing, SRV, or scientific remote viewing. Our methods are much more highly structured than those that were originally developed by the U.S. military. So, for those of you who want to learn our way of doing things, Princess Jeaneé teaches online courses to both individuals, one-on-one, as well as groups. You can contact her at princessviews@gmail.com. She will also be giving courses on other topics related to remote viewing in the future, such as how some people do associative remote viewing and even how we at Farsight use remote viewing for personal forecasts relating to investments, business decisions, and even life decisions. Our final announcement is that we will be releasing a major new 5-year forecast on a cryptocurrency this month. That will be priced separately and released on our website, farsight.org, so keep on the lookout for it. Okay, to summarize, here is a timeline of the Farsight events to happen this month, July 2020. Farsight Human News is released on YouTube on the 3rd, and you are watching that right now. Farsight ET News is released on the 7th, and then we will be hosting the live Farsight Intelligence Briefing to subscribers of farsightprime.com on July 8th. On July 15th, there is the major release of our new mysteries project, The Eye of the Sahara, only on farsightprime.com. And during the 3rd week of July, we will have the release of a Farsight economic forecast on farsightprime.com. There will also be free live streaming events on YouTube during the month, and you need to be subscribed to our Farsight newsletter and our YouTube channel to be notified of that in advance. So be sure to go to our website and sign up for our free email newsletter where we will announce the YouTube live streaming events. Now let's review what happened with our June Human News forecast, which we published in May 2020. Well, as all of you now know, our forecasts have been amazingly accurate. Let's start with a session by Aziz Brown. He described an urban area with protests. There were lots of subjects on the streets and other subjects inside structures. The subjects inside the structures were feeling openly superior to the protesting subjects on the streets. Then, Kahmia Dunson had a similar report. She reported on masses of protesting subjects and a second group of people who she described as controllers, who were having secret meetings oriented towards making decisions to control the protesting masses. Then Melena had a similar session where she described a huge struggle between the masses and the elites, a struggle for control. She said that it felt like a zombie apocalypse. Princess Jeaneé also had a session reporting on masses out of control. Smoke was coming out of buildings, roadblocks, barricades, destruction of buildings, and buildings getting shut down. So let's summarize these sessions first, since they all seem to point in the same direction, protests. It is important to point out that all of these remote viewing sessions were completed before George Floyd was killed by police on May 25th. And the subsequent riots took place a few days after that. So this period of time from very late May through June 2020 was perfectly described by these remote viewers. It was the period of zombie apocalypse. Not literally, of course, with actual zombies, but you get the idea. Now, moving on to the session by Trudy Benjamin, she reported on male subjects confined in a structure. There was electricity and water malfunctions. There was a disease problem in the facility, and the waters were unclean and the place was dirty and unhealthy. There was some fighting, and the male subjects were literally really upset. That, indeed, what was happening in the prison systems in the United States, and to a large extent still is. The coronavirus pandemic is wreaking havoc within the prison systems. Prisoners all clumped together in confined quarters with no access to the outside world and social distancing. The pandemic has made a bad situation much worse for these people. Finally, there was a session by Arkie. Rock uses a form of remote viewing that gives him visual impressions of major events throughout the month. So, looking at some of his impressions, he reported on a non-living swarm in the air, although he was not clear if it was living or non-living. But it was a huge swarm of stuff in the air. Well, that was a major news event in June 2020 as a huge and somewhat dangerous dust cloud blew out of Africa, across the Atlantic Ocean to eventually hover over much of the Americas. It was a really big dust cloud that was clearly tracked by Earth satellites, and it was a major news event for the month. There was even concern that it could cause health problems once it settled over the Americas. Rock also reported on a traumatic event that occurred in an urban area near the coast, with smoke arising from multiple places together with damage to an urban area resulting in havoc and pandemonium. He was not clear about where the havoc and pandemonium was coming from, but his results on the ground matched those of the other viewers with respect to riots and protests, another viewpoint into the so-called zombie apocalypse month. Okay, so now let's move on to this month's news forecast for July 2020. Remember, we could always be wrong, and all remote viewing must be seen as an experiment, not a certainty. But look at the data for yourself, make your own decisions, and then let's watch the month of July roll out to see what actually happens. You will notice that we are slowly moving into a new process for showing our results. This is a work in process, and it will become more fully fleshed out over the months as we get used to using our new studio and technical capabilities. 6 remote viewers participated in this month's project: Aziz Brown, PrinCess Jeaneé, Melena Hall, Trudy Benjamin, Kahmia Dunson, and Arkie. So we have 6 reports for you today. So let's begin. We are going to present them one after another, without an introduction by myself. However, I will return after all of the reports are presented to you to help pull everything together.
Hi, welcome to News 1 using target coordinates 0714-2397. Okay, so we have this vast urban area over here. We have a bit of a rocky hill, grayish hill over there, a little bit of greenish hues. We've got some foliage over on that side and a reddish orangey glow that sort of is just shining out from in between the structures. And yeah, otherwise it just seems like a large urban expanse. Let's continue probing. Okay, so here inside the urban area we have structures on this side, structures on that side. Beyond this structure you can see the emanation of the reddish orangey glow, just reddish glows, and yeah, it feels warmth coming out of that glowing area. We have a huge number of subjects, all in sort of a linear motion, and there's just a lot of subjects all on what seems to be like a road or just space in between these structures, and they're all moving in a linear motion. Let's continue probing. Okay, so there's other areas in this urban expanse still within the urban area. Structure's all about. Subjects are, some of them in some areas, they're a bit more spaced out. This one has sort of holding this like torch-like thing. I don't know, it's glowing. It's got a reddish glow to it, orangish glow to it. And he's just holding it up. Let's move around, see more what's going on here. So that's the scene. Okay, so we've got this really wide, lighter tinted structure over here with sort of like a hump dome type of thing at the top. We've got some structures on this side, structures on that side, still in the middle of this dense urban area, sort of dense urban area. I mean, there's space between the structures, but it's an urban area. Anyway, there's this vehicle sort of like slanted, just sort of at an angle sort of thing. And it's just in the middle of this space in between these structures, like a road-like area. And I see two subjects, one chasing the other one, or both of them just running in the same direction. The one in the back, he's sort of got an object, like a stick-like longer object. He's just sort of holding it up. Anyway, both of them are just running in that direction. So let's keep moving around, see what else is happening. But yeah, it's pretty much there. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of subjects over here dressed in very dark clothing, blackish dark clothing. A lot of them are sort of running backwards. Some of them are standing there just like this. And I see some subjects over here. It's like they're two facing off groups, and there's a little space in between them, but it's not much. But then anyway, these guys are a lot more uniformed together. They all look very similar, like they got uniforms on. And they all have the objects in their hands, objects of some sort, hard objects in their hands. And they're not really running backwards as much as some of them are moving forward, some of them are just standing there. But that seems like the general flow of things. There's a group of very dark blackish hues attire subjects over here, and then another group of subjects just holding hard objects over there. And it's all within this urban area, so let's keep moving around. All right, so we've got a lot of vehicles and subjects over here, and there's this large, wide structure with the dome thing in the back. And yeah, this area, it's got these bulky vehicles, thick, dark vehicles. And some of these subjects have they're all in this sort of uniform. All of the subjects look like they have uniforms. Not all of their uniforms look the same. Some of them have more tannish hues, greenish hues to their uniform, and the other ones have very dark hues to their uniform, like almost black hues to the way that they look. But they all seem relatively similar to each other, both in energy and the look that they have, and they're all sort of just standing there, just situated in their position. And there's this line of truck-like big bulky vehicles that they're standing with. So anyway, let's keep moving around. Okay, so we have this dark hued, dark attire, dark clothing subject, and I drew this sort of burst of explosive a little too close to him. But what he really does, I'll just describe it. He runs out into this open area and he throws this warm, glowy, hot, explosive energetics, and it just bursts like that little explosive energetics type of thing. And just makes a little, and to this side of him, there is this running group of also very dark-hued clothing subjects, and they're sort of scattering that way. And then on that side of him, there's a lot of those uniformed subjects that are just sort of standing there like, and yeah, that seems to be the situation with what this looks like over here. I'll do another sketch. Okay, so these are a lot of relatively dark-hued attire, clothing subjects. Collective Deep Mind Probe shows that this group of people, they are observing this guy. A lot of them are collectively just looking at this guy who's stepped out in front and thrown that fiery thing on the ground. And so he's sort of stepped out in front and done that. They're all sort of watching him, or a lot of them are, and some people are backing away, and it feels like a mixture of anxiety and fear, as well as hot, fiery, energized, energetic, excited emotions. So it's a bit of a mix of both of those, just a relative high adrenaline, high rush situation, but also at the same time a little bit of fear, a good bit of fear. And basically all eyes are on subject one over here. Let's just call him subject one, S1. So subject one over there throws that stuff on the ground. More deep mind probes. Okay, so funnily enough, while these guys are really excited, lots of anger, fiery anger feelings on this side, mixed in with a good bit of fear. This guy, subject one, he's doing what seems like at surface view just the most chaotic action. He's throwing this fiery explosive thing on the ground and doing it in front of a bunch of these guys. And he's very calm. He's got his deep mind probe shows a calm mind, a very calculated, planned, thought out type of set of actions. And it's very contradictory towards the rather chaotic motion he's making and the burst of, energetics that's happening right here in front of him that he causes. And yeah, he's very calm, cool, calculated. He's like, this is part of some sort of plan of his, and he's just fulfilling his role. So he's probably one of the calmer people in this environment. Do more deep mind probes. Okay, so these guys, I got this sense of like a guard dog, but really angry, but very contained, like a lot of discipline containing all of the anger and emotion and frustration. And so they're stoic. They're really stoic. He's pretty much just there, standing there. I don't see any active action or big motion from these guys. They're just sort of observing, and they're standing their ground, and they have a lot of anger and emotion that's volatile, kind of like these guys over here. But the difference is, while these guys are, letting it all out, moving around, scattering around, running away, running forward, running backwards, these guys are very strict with their physical positioning. They're just uniformed subjects standing there, eyes locked and not doing anything. So very guard dog, standing at attention type of vibration. Let's do more investigations. All right, so this guy has brown hair, Caucasian male, light skin, really, really ninja black attire, has a face cloth type of thing, just covering himself, and he looks like a ninja, kind of like a ninja, and but his deep mind probe just yields more of this calmness. It really is very opposite to what he looks like. Like, he looks very aggressive, type of guy, but he mentally speaking, he's very calm, cool, calculated, and acting out a plan that he has. And it seems like a lot of the plan is directed towards, it feels like he's goading, like he's trying to elicit a response from the uniformed subjects who are sort of in guard dog mode, just sort of standing there, not moving anywhere, just holding their ground, very stoic, not doing anything, yet their emotions are far more heated than his. His whole vibration is outwardly looking very chaotic, throwing this thing on the ground, and inwardly very strategically trying to elicit responses or elicit a reaction of some sort from the guys who are just sort of standing there like that. So it's weird. Anyway, this is subject one. This is the guy who threw the explosive thing on the ground, and he's sort of looking very ninja-esque. So let's do a little more investigation on our this dude over here and see what happens. Okay, so moving to the original cause of this whole event, I get this sense of a small, tight room full of other subjects, this very serious vibe. And we have this heavier set. Everyone seems relatively light-skinned, but they're all, clothing-wise, really jet black, dark clothing. And this guy, he's got this object, like his object, and he's handing it, the heavy-set guy, he's handing it over to our subject one, the guy who, this guy, he basically takes these thing and goes out there and throws it on the ground, a big flame comes up. But yeah, he's got this object and hands it to this subject one over here. And let's do some deep mind probes, get some emotions. It feels like a very serious environment. Okay, so let's just name him S2. We'll name him S1. S1 is the guy who throws the explosive on the ground, and he's receiving the explosive originally from S2. S1, going through the deep mind probe, he sort of feels a little humbled being in the presence of S2. He has this sort of respect type of thing. There is a lot of calm energy going on with S1, and it seems like S2 seems to have, in his mind, more orchestrative power over whatever plan that he's involved in. So it's like he's following S2's orders, or S2 is, hey, here's this thing, and, S2 has a plan. And his job is to just follow through with his part of the plan. And, yeah, very calm and humbling respect for S2. Let's go into S2's mind now. So S2 has a slight hint of happiness that sparks up as within his calm, stoic nature that happens when he's handing over this object to S1. And S2 has this overall arching strategic spiderweb-like plan strategy, and it's all sort of webbing out over this urban area, and it's yeah, he's got this spiderweb type of orchestrative plan that he's doing, and it webs out over this urban area, and he's handing over this stuff to S1, and this is just a small part of his overall plan that is, rather orchestrative of it has something. I just get this image of his intentions, his strategic planning, his plans are like a spider web that's netted over the urban area that we've been looking at. All right. Okay, so it seems like there's other dark uniformed, or dark, not really uniformed, but dark clad clothing subjects in these corners of the room. They don't really seem to be as involved in this main exchange between S1 and S2, but yeah, S1 very much respects S2. S2, very cool, calm, and collected, and strategically oriented from a mental sense. And that does conclude all the data for target 07142397.
What I'm seeing here is a lot of level and irregular topography. I have a lot of steep peaks just kind of sitting here in the forefront of me. Burning smells, rocky land, multiple surface structures. I have a mountain, a large mountain with a city nearby. I'm seeing smoke, cloud dynamics everywhere, chaotic loud noises, cars, horns, yelling, screaming, a lot of back and forth, just a lot of back and forth. It's very energetic here. I want to move to the top of this mountain here because it seems that a lot of the energy is coming in that direction or from that direction down towards the city. The mountain almost sits atop the city. It's very hot, smoky, fire fire blazing, it's rocky. You have this circular, heavy, rocky situation. There's a lot of smoke atop that, and it just goes down. It's hot here. It's hot up here. Below that, you have just the terrain and just the city and what looks like maybe water or liquid of some sort nearby. Foliage, not much foliage though, and land. I'm gonna move to the cause of the target event here, just to see what's happening, because it's a bit scattered. This seems both natural and man-made. Whatever's happening here, it seems like there's something that's like a natural disaster or a natural situation, but also a man-made situation, like maybe someone took advantage of the natural disaster or ailment that's happening here to do something else. It seems provoked by subjects in the city, in the land here nearby. Again, just causing a large man-made natural catastrophe type of situation. Again, I have foliage here and just all around me. Subjects lined the front, or top, or front. Subjects lined up. Again, just buildings and chaotic energy, energetics, something volcanic. So it feels very volcanic, but again, it also feels like there's something else, like fire meets volcano, and just this is a very unique situation here, both man-made and natural disaster. I've never felt anything like this. There's some sort of man-made disruption causing a smoke and burning in conclusion, right next to what feels like a volcanic eruption. And it just enters the city, harsh environment, and I have subjects all over the land. This is a very unique situation. I can feel the energy. I can feel the this is very weird. It's like, what can I do? Kind of like people taking advantage of the situation and just making it worse.
Here at this target, I feel a flat surface below me, very hard, harsh man-made ground, a feel of concrete, a feel of a dark blue street. To the left of me, I'm seeing subjects, structures, feel of big structure. I'm getting a truck and a car, regular truck, a regular car, same color, like a dark tint color car. On the right of me, I'm seeing another cars and trucks. They both look the same on each side. And I'm seeing subjects in like rows in the structure in front of me. The structure is very wide, has these two doors, like a garage type of door. It's just wide and very heavy doors. And subjects are walking in and walking out. Most of them are coming out and they're just walking. The weather here is very hot. It's a lot of heat waves. Subjects are in these bulky uniforms. They seem to be just continue walking in a straight line in some type of form. They're walking in a form where they have to keep straight, look ahead, not looking at nothing else that's around them. These subjects has a robotic feel. They all have a blank face. They look very brainwashed. Subjects look like they've been told what to do in a very controlling way, and they seem to be following any order that was given. I hear a lot of noises on the east side of the long line of subjects. The structures contain subjects. The area feels like a highway, but around looks like a desert with a few city kind of structures. The structures are very modern-like, but the around the area is very natural. It feels like downtown Texas from the weather and from the wide land. It's very wide and big, and the subjects are just, again, moving and keep going. These subjects seems to be against something, and they seem to be, they do not seem friendly people. They seem mainly a bit harsh, but only if you come to them. But the subjects are in baggy clothing. The clothing is like a off green, grayish color. They're kind of in like a plain, less camouflage color. The structures are beside the subjects and they're on the same team. A few of the structures that's around them that are moving structures like vehicles, some are not with the whole campaign of this march, this outspoken march. It just seemed very in the way of things, and some subjects are looking at them. I noticed there's subjects that have families out here. It's an open public area and people have big fear for this whole look, which is very unpredictable. As I walk in the city with the subjects, the area looks so damaged, so looted, if that's the word. It just seems like everything just been taken and busted. Majority of the structures, not all structures. The town, city is still moving, but it isn't as it used to be. It's more like you must be inside. I see a lot of subjects moving around fast. It seems like they're trying to get away from what's going on. There's people out here are telling them, please stay inside, stay inside, stay inside, stay inside, while the subjects are just walking. And they are equipped and they seem like they're ready to kill people. As I walk around this corner area, there's this open structure and it looks like there's these subjects that look like scientists. They have long lab coats and they're outside, and it's like there's sheets that cover things. It's like a tent, an open tent. This feels very not too clean, but everything seems artificial. The scientist subjects are just moving in silence, working, grabbing things. I'm going to walk out. The subjects in line are just constantly marching. As I see one of them, there's other subjects that are not wearing the uniform that is also in this formation. These subjects look like jailbirds, prisoners. They all look very tired, not so brainwashed like the other subjects, but these subjects look more exhausted and needing to be refreshed and nourished, and they're just being, these subjects need to be free. These subjects aren't free. It's like they got these subjects on display like slaves. Walking up to the big truck I see, there's 2 subjects inside. They seem very relaxed. It seems like they're okay. They work for the people that has somewhat brainwashed the rest, but these subjects seem very, I'm just here for this, I'm just here for that. I don't care how rude or mad I have to act. This is what I do, and this is what I do it for. Those subjects are very high demanding, if that's a word. But these subjects seem like they work for the military. They have hats on and uniform. To the subjects that they brought or have them marching, they look so numb. They look healthy, but they have that robotic look, but they look very numb and brainwashed. But mentally they are advanced, and physically they are advanced as well. They look like real AI people, artificial intelligence subjects. As I feel on one subject, he has a very tough tone body, but they are so computerized. It doesn't seem real how they are acting. It seems like this is a movie.
I'm noticing soft material. There's a base structure. On land, this land is natural. The environment is natural. There's human subjects here in this environment. There's tall, hard, man-made material structures, multiple subjects, and a large round object. I'm sensing subjects inside of a structure. There's a structure that's similar to a building-like structure that's made out of rock or sheetrock. Noticing subjects moving in and out of this structure. I sense a subject that has black hair, tall, male. I'm sensing smoke or fire or some type of energetics on the inside of this structure that this subject is in or nearby. There's multiple structures on this man-made environment. It's similar to a city. I'm sensing a lot of subjects moving in and out of a large round shaped structure, but there's lots of energetics being emitted off of the top level of this rounded object. I'm sensing lots of danger and chaos. The emotions that are coming from the subjects. The emotions that are coming from the subjects nearby is sporadic movement. I'm noticing multi-directional movement, actually. There's lots of water or something that's like wavy nearby. I'm sensing waves. I'm sensing a lot of wetness. Something that's creating I'm sensing this. I don't know why. I'm sensing a lot of movement of energetics and water at the same time. There is land-water interface in this area, in this environment, and I'm noticing that there are a lot of brown-colored water, like murky, dirty water. The water is moving really fast, and I'm sensing a harsh environment. I'm noticing that there are a lot of rocks and subjects nearby the land-water interface. But something is dangerous in this area that is creating the subjects' fear. These subjects are alive, they are human. I'm sensing that these human subjects are completely unaware of what was happening at the time of the target event. I'm sensing that the subjects were completely surprised about this event. I'm noticing that there's a lot of confusion and chaos with the idea of the movement of water. There's lots of movement, there's lots of movement with water in the air and below on the surface of the land. The color of this water is not clean. I don't sense that this water is clean at all. The water is murky brown, and I'm sensing harsh chemical smells, man-made smells, lots of cold, murky water. I'm noticing that the life of these subjects there's subjects that are alive, but there are subjects that are dying. I'm noticing a lot of harsh land, natural land. Wind. There's lots of wind and loud sounds coming from a structure above. Something's really fast. Something is moving towards this structure really fast, or something's moving towards a lot of these structures. Actually, the city environment is in the center, and there's something moving towards this city environment, or there's lots of water moving towards structures or a structure in this city. And a lot of these subjects are trying to move away from this event. I'm noticing a lot of bright light rectangular structures and brown colors. I'm sensing mucky and mushy, wet, dirty chemicals. Something is weak, something is dying. I'm sensing fear, sadness, harsh chemical smells, a lot of chaos and emotions that are fearful. I'm noticing relative movement by water. A lot of movement by water. These are not English speaking languages. Sensing a subject that is female, that has long brown black hair, that is pale skin, but she's not speaking English. It's non-English speaking language. Something about this event is very sad, but it's causing anxiety about the future. I'm sensing something similar to a flood, or a lot of water that is filling up a city that is really dirty and smelly. Subjects are trying to get away from the mess. But all in all, the subjects are frantic. There's lots of anxiety about where to go. The movement is sporadic because of not knowing where to stay at once, and the movement is coming from subjects in water and something really high up in the sky. Inside of the structure is filled with subjects, and this is right next to a land-water interface. I'm sensing a lot of bright light and subjects trying to organize something or frantically trying to create something that's not so scattered. Something is creating fear and worry, worrisome emotions. Sensing males and female subjects, multiple ages. There's multiple languages, but this is not a English-speaking language location. Oh, there's lots of upward movement, fast upward movement. And I'm sensing it's because of water.
Okay. I sense that there are man-made sounds and it's shouting. I see like dark green colors mixed with these natural smells. I have multiple subjects here and it feels like a focus gathering. It also feels like subjects are pulling each other and, tugging at each other. And it looks like there's this smoke or like objects like quickly flying around in this area. I also see that there are surface structures here and they seem to be like pretty big, and there's subjects inside of these structures. Okay, I sense that there's a lot of cloud dynamics here, and I see like structures in the distance. There seems to be just like this very large, like wide structure here. It looks significantly larger than the other ones. And then I can also see just like a little off to the side, there's this peaked structure. It kind of looks like just a very like tall, like pencil-shaped structure. And then also inside of that very large structure that I see, it seems to be just like very chaotic inside. It feels like there's just like a lot of movement and a lot of talking and a lot of just like energy there that feels very all over the place. Yeah. So then also in front of this very large wide structure there's also this group of subjects here, and these subjects feel like there's just like many subjects here, and they all feel like they have the same energy. You know, the energy here feels very like angry and abrupt, and all of these subjects kind of over here seem to be all like lumped together or something, and it seems to be like they're kind of pushing and moving towards this thing over here. And this thing over here kind of looks like a wall, but the wall feels like there's like subjects behind them, you know? So like a subject kind of like holding up a wall, or subjects behind a wall. And it just feels like all these subjects over here are all facing like this direction, and all of these this like wall of some sort with the subjects behind it are all facing like this direction. So there's definitely some tension going on here. These subjects feel very upset. They feel like they're angry, and they feel like they're just exploding with anger. And it's just like these subjects, they feel like male and female subjects, and it's almost like some of them are like really angry, and some of them are kind of like very sad. So it feels like they're witnessing a tragedy of some sorts. It definitely feels like these subjects here are just like either angry or they're really heartbroken. I'm going to move to the activity here. This activity here feels very rushed. It feels very fast and chaotic. It feels like the activity here is like, it's like it's attacking me. Not attacking me, it just feels like an attack, you know? The energy here feels very just sad and mad and angry. It's very, like everything's going on here. I also sense this like kinetic movement and kinetic energies, where it feels kind of like something is moving like in one direction super fast across or like in between these two groups of subjects that I have here. I hear just a lot of sad voices, and it sounds like people are kind of wailing, just like yelling and crying almost. And just very fast movement. And I kind of see something that looks like a big like bush kind of thing. It looks like smoke all gathered together. It's very hard to, it's like energetics, like it looks like that all over the place, you know? And I just hear a lot of voices, and it just smells like sweat and people like that smell like the outdoors, if you know what I mean. And I hear like a lot of man-made sounds as well. And again, these man-made sounds kind of feel like they're coming from that big like cloud of energetics that I feel here as well. And when I see this cloud of energetics, I do see like subjects that seem to be surrounding this cloud of energetics as well. Going to move to the target subject. The subject feels male. He feels like he's inside of a structure, and it feels like they're just like internally freaking out. It feels like I can just feel their heartbeat like racing, and I can feel their anxiety rising. And he seems to have this very slender face, and he has like these very small eyes and like short hair on the top. And he's just very slim. He looks like a very slim person. He's got like this like pale skin and it's like grayish looking hair. And he seems to be wearing like these very nice clothing. So it looks like a nice suit of some sort, or just like, you know, well-made clothing. And then he also just has this very thin, small nose. So just like small eyes. He has very small facial features. Thin lips, small nose, small eyes, slender face, gray hair, and just like, you know, a slim body. It just also feels like the energy around this subject is very awkward. It feels like he feels awkward, or he's dealing with these awkward situations. He feels a little like he doesn't know what to do right now. Everything he comes up with, it feels like it's not the right decision. He also seems to be on the base surface and inside of the structure. The structure looks like this very, like that very big structure from the beginning. It kind of all looks like the same structure here. And he seems to be inside of some sort of room though, and in this room it feels very compact, and it feels like there's just like, you know, a little table and some chairs and some sort of like arc, inside the room. Yeah, it just feels like the arc is like the windows are arced, or just some sort of arc structure inside this room. And then it also feels like they're here with other subjects. So this, my target subject is not alone here.
Okay, Rox, look, thanks so much for joining us on Human News for the July 2020 edition. You got a really interesting session here. I've been looking through some of these pages. Why don't we just jump right into it? So I'm looking at page 2 of S4. So what do you have there?
Yeah, this was sort of a wild ride. I was the first impression I got, or the first tile that I worked on, it was as if I was sitting in a vehicle, sitting in a vehicle, and I'm bordered by this very thick glass to my right, and boom, 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 boom. I get these like literally like hits on what seems to be, what I perceive to be something similar to, you know, very thick, protective, bulletproof, if you will, glass in some sort of vehicle. And I picked up the solid hits and the markings on the very thick glass to my right. And like I said, I just had a sense of being in a vehicle when it was attacked. And,
okay, yeah, I'm looking at the window, and the window does look like it was hit by something. So at this point, you don't know if this is a surface vehicle, like a car that's got bulletproof glass windows, or an aircraft. Is that right? So you don't know where it is?
Yeah, I could not discern in this moment whether I was in a plane or a car or a vehicle, because my attention was inside and to the immediate right to the glass of the hits.
I see.
You know, it was interesting perception. I perceived cordite, which is associated with the gunpowder, if you will, or and I perceived very thick glass, in a sense of being protected, but also some level of kinetic energy being thrown against whatever vehicle I was in. So, if you were to do a weight and balance, it felt more earthbound vehicle-like than an aircraft. I can go with that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go through the other images you have here for this remote viewing session.
Yeah,
and,
there's some pretty wild images in this.
Something big is on our way. It's coming our way. So go ahead.
In page 3, I picked up, to the best of my ability, what seemed like a Hawaiian or an aloha shirt. And it's either a Hawaiian or aloha shirt, or a shirt that's been tattered and stained, and was is one way to say it. I perceived that design or some type of pattern, and the sound of wind and fluttering, and that was an interesting pickup. It's an odd aspect of a target to just get a shirt, some design on the shirt or some damage on the shirt, and it seemingly fluttering in the wind, and that was the perception I tried to capture as much as possible right there. It was
So interestingly, the shirt's not being worn by a human being.
right.
It's loose and it's tattered. So it sort of matches with the explosive type of event or thing that happened with that vehicle in the previous sketch, that something destructive occurred.
It could, yeah, very possible.
Well, yeah, the tattering and the idea of flying in the wind makes me sort of think that maybe in the fact that it came as your second image in the session that they might be connected. Okay, what do we have on your next page? Page 4 I have here. And what's this? What's this all about?
On page 4, I had an urban cityscape with, I would say, medium to tallish buildings, but one prominent building that was angular, and I picked up antennas on the top of this building. It was a very large structure, and the interesting aspect of this structure was that it seemed angled, not a radical angle, but just sloped on its edges as it reaches toward the top, and on the top it was crowned with some type of antenna.
I have to say that building reminds me of something I've seen. So it's a sloping building, but not too steep, and then two antenna like rabbit ears on either side at the top.
Right.
In an urban setting. Okay, so somehow that's connected to everything. Some of the audience may recognize that building and start posting, what it might be on the in the chat area. Okay, in the discussion area. Well, let's go to page 5. This is the page that I looked at and I said, my gosh, Rock is remote viewing toothbrushes. So
Yeah, what is that?
yeah, so what actually is it though?
Well, that's a good question, but to the nearest of my perceptual awareness through this remote viewing, I perceived energy emanating from antenna-like structures in multiple locations, and the perception of the energy, it wasn't like a constant flow or sinusoidal, where you're having a waveform propagate. It was more in a very choppy or bursty mode, and I felt the significance of the type of energy being emitted was more bursty, almost like droplets of water being burst out, or at intervals instead of a constant frequency or harmonic. It was very odd.
So these are antenna. And,
to the best of my, that's what I picked up.
Yeah, that's what you have
depicted
written
it.
down here. And there's a signal, and there's bursts coming out of the antenna.
Right.
So it's not just a constant antenna Wi-Fi stream, it's bursts coming out. And they do sort of look like toothbrushes, so maybe some people in our audience, that's sort of a distinctive look to those antenna. Some people in our audience may have an idea of where that type of antenna was used. And it's a group. You have 5 here pictured, so I assumed it's a bunch of those antenna.
Maybe it's a remote view representative form.
Yeah.
We don't always get our counts correct, and a lot of times the image will depict something on a much larger scale.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to page 6, which sort of looks like it matches with some of the other stuff you've got.
Yeah, my goodness, more destruction. So I picked up this a very focused area of destruction, and people sort of disheveled, standing around in awe, and no one there to help. So something has happened in the in that time frame, in that setting. Something has happened to focus destructive energy that put these people in a state of awe. As they're observing the destruction, whether it's a crash or kinetic. I definitely picked up a concussive destruction, if you will.
Yeah. So it's a clearly defined area, and some destruction occurred in it, and you have a bunch of subjects standing around that area looking on.
Numbed, paralyzed by what they're looking at.
I see. Yeah, I'm tempted to try to figure out how big the area of destruction is, but I don't know if we could really do that. I was thinking of using the subjects sort of as a measure based on their height.
I would be hesitant to do that.
Yeah.
But if I tried to frame it, it's smaller than a city, probably large like a blockish or a bordered area where it's not tremendous, but it's very focused.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Well, these things seem to be things that will be visible in the news that we'll be able to identify. I have to remind the remote viewers, I have to remind the audience that when we remote view into the future, we do live in a situation of multiple timelines. And so we don't know if this exact event will occur, but we look at what's happening across all of the remote viewing sessions for all of the viewers to get a general nature of the type of news that fills that month. And so what we're forecasting is that whether it's like a very disruptive month or very calm month. So that's what we did, for example, when we published in April the news forecast for May.
Right.
And in April, the forecast was everything is quiet because it was the lockdown in normal terms of just looking at the events on the ground. But the remote viewing data said something much different. The remote viewing data had riots and things coming apart, and then near the end of for May. And near the end of May, in fact, the whole country blew up at the end of May with all of the riots and protests. And yeah, it was really matching the remote viewing data really, really well.
Right.
So anyway, we don't know if this exact event is going to occur, but this is the type of event we're seeing. And very often the exact event that we pick up in a session actually does occur. So we're going to be on the lookout. So go ahead with your next page 7.
So page 7, this was interesting. I was in the zone and going through the process of pulling in this information. I was like sort of taken aback because what I was looking at was a large bow of a ship headed to my observation, my virtual observation point, in the session. And I went back and revisited, got a little more clarity, but it seemed like some big ships, something's going on that's belligerent, and there's a collision of sorts between
either a collision
either
a collision from the sketch. It's either a collision or a threatened collision.
That's a very good point, right? Because I picked up being really close to sense that collision is imminent, but I didn't really get the
you don't have the actual
signature.
collision. You don't have the boats sort of fragmented and splintered and stuff like that. But you clearly have them on a collision course and a near collision. So maybe there will be a collision, or maybe it'll be a near collision.
And the operative, the verbiage, the belligerent is important.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, a belligerent act. Okay, well, we'll find out. All right, Rock, let's move on to page 8.
This next one may be ho-hum, but I picked up the signature of a missile streaking away at night. And,
at night?
At night. Night sky, I wrote. So that aspect of a missile headed somewhere, parts unknown, at night.
So what we have so far in this session all conforms to the idea of some type of violent sort of assembly or some type of violent collection of related events. Explosion outside a vehicle, impacting what looks like bulletproof glass, And then we have near collisions, then with boats, and then a destructive area in an urban setting, apparently. So, something, and then a missile flying off. So that's sort of a general theme to this session. Interesting that you have it flying at night. Okay, well, what do you have? Actually, this looks a little bit more like the past page. Your next page, page 9, looks a little bit like the earlier one, but more detailed with the destructive area.
It could be that. What I picked up was a little bit of a different feeling, a different sense of this locale. And of course, there's urban destruction. There's
destruction.
A conflict. And there's people out, but I get this real sense that it's passing, that we've sort of eclipsed a point, and that and for some reason I wrote that, and I don't know that it's wishful thinking, but that this type of destruction is passing. Passing what? Passing it's leaving.
Passing in the sense of phasing out.
Phasing out. That's the impression I got. Exactly.
So there was some type of destructive element occurring in the month, but there's also some idea that it's over.
Relief.
Finishing.
Right.
That's good to know, because if we do have the destructive area, or the destroyed area, and if we want to be able to forecast what's happening, it looks like whatever it is resolving in some way. Or ending, at least, somehow. Okay, what do you have on page 10? Now that's sort of...
What is that?
Yeah, it's back to the maritime content.
So I picked up a container ship that is offloading containers. The depiction next to it is one of those container ship cranes, if you will, that moves the containers off the ship and onto the land. But what was interesting about this target, it wasn't so much about the containers, but I got an impression it was about what was in the containers.
Yeah, and you have here human cargo.
Yeah, or human, it's really hard. Human despair and hunger. So
human despair and hunger. Yeah, so you don't actually have cargo, but it's a container ship, and somehow related to that, you have human despair and hunger.
I got a sense that people are in there somewhat, and they're not too happy. So I think the little area that I highlighted over to the right, that I darkened the color a little bit, it seemed that there was an impression of this despair and hunger or fear coming from that section or area. And I just got a sense, and it could be part and parcel due to, it could be an AOL from news events or whatever, but...
Again, for the audience, AOL means analytic overlay, and in Rock's method, that's the word they use for conscious mind conclusion. And in Farsight, we use the word deduction, which is a conclusion that the mind is making, but also a subtraction, you're getting rid of it. So something is correct in every AOL and every deduction, you just don't know what that correct part is. But on the surface level, they're almost always wrong, but there's something in it that's correct, and it's interesting to try to figure out what did you perceive that made you think of that. So go ahead, what was your AOL again?
The AOL was a depiction of human trafficking to some degree, because we know that's a global problem, but it just seemed that this was more business as normal and operationalized in this setting to move like probably a lot more people than could be imagined.
So what did you perceive that made you think of human trafficking? If AOL is the human trafficking idea, what did you actually perceive on a low level that made you think of that?
The pain emanating from inside the containers.
Okay, the suffering inside the boat, inside the container. So this wasn't, it sort of looks like it could be a cruise ship from the surface, but it does have containers on top though, so it looks more like a container ship, but you're feeling that is a container ship, is that right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I freeform depicted, because that was my impression in the session.
Okay, well, we have maritime things happening with also a near collision.
Right.
And now I'm wondering if this ship was one of the boats that was threatened in the water with that near collision with the other boat. And I'm sort of wondering if this sort of assembly or ensemble of events or elements might be related to some type of national disturbance involving some like a coup attempt in some country someplace with refugees piling into boats.
I don't think they were. I didn't get the impression this was refugees piling into boats.
Ah, so no, that was not refugees,
Right.
but humans, but suffering in some way.
Suffering.
So this is a clearer thing. This is what happens all the time. We see the images, the perceptions, and we try to figure out what it means. We do the best we can, but sometimes you have to wait till the actual events happen so you can say, and all the pieces fit together, but you don't really know what the full thing is until you actually see it. Okay, so what do we have next? This fits into the general theme of this session.
Yeah, when I depicted this, when I put it on paper, I was going, what is this, some showdown at the OK Corral? And actually, I went into it a little deeper. Obviously, it's a side of a conflict, seemingly outdoors, and some gun violence. But the perpetrator may or may not be the good guy, may be the good guy, may be the bad guy. I didn't get a sense either way. Other than they were more either militarized or paramilitarized, but there was definitely some artifacts of the havoc that were laying motionless around, and this subject, Life Human, was in the process of eliminating this other subject. He was in the process of shooting the other person when I got this impression.
Well, a couple things that I'm noticing from this sketch is that there's some dead bodies on the ground. So this person that has his hands up is apparently not the first person to be threatened in that way. And second thing I'm sort of noticing is that the guy who's shooting has a hat. And I'm wondering if that's a military type hat.
Yeah, the hat, the hat just goes with the figure. It's
clearly some type of conflict that results in the loss of life.
Right.
And it's outdoors. So, I mean, right now this could be anything from more violence in the streets.
Right, and we don't treat these type of sessions when we get an aspect of a target like this. It's usually pretty apparent. The either suffering or death. That sets a high signature. That's pretty radiant.
Okay, well the guy's got his hands up. Looks like he's trying to surrender, but it doesn't look like.
I think it was falling backwards from the concussion.
Oh, I see. So you think he was hit and it was falling backwards. So he was not surrendering. He was in the process of falling after being shot. Okay, so the conflict, whatever it is, seems to extend into the sea, possibly into the air, and on the surface of the ground as well, of course, because that large destructive area, the destroyed area of destruction, and now individuals being confronted. So it's clearly not just like a bomb that was detonated from afar and the perpetrators aren't near. You get sort of conflict on the ground between people. I think that's what I'm reading from it. What do you think?
Yeah, I try to stay pretty neutral in an opinion until these things unfold. You've taught me well.
So, okay, well, let's go on to page 12. And after conflicts happen, they always end up in court.
Court, and the next thing I get is this judicial setting. And I have what seems to be a judge seated at a bench with some handcuffed and meeting the judge. I don't know if it's first appearance or what, but I got this judicial setting. The subject is handcuffed. He's being maneuvered by somebody in authority, holding him in place in front of the judge. And the operative of justice just appeared. So
some people in this conflict seem to have died. Others seem to have been arrested and brought before a judge.
yeah.
Okay. The next one.
I like this one. This was an interesting. It's a.
You just go ahead. It's a weird. It's a weird picture.
Thing. But what I got was a substantial, large stone or monument, very energetic, and a day or so after I depicted this, it stuck in my mind, and I just went on a search for something that had the same feeling of this large object, and I found it outside of Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah,
this sugar
looks a little
loaf,
bit
I
like,
think.
what's it called?
I think it's called sugar loaf or some type
Sugar
of
loaf,
and giant, looks like a giant rock like this, but very large.
This looks a little taller than it is wide, so it doesn't remind me so much of, say, Stone Mountain in Georgia.
No.
So
No, there's a big rock that
it's a rock.
big rock that looks
but
like.
you also
like
have
a-
its. You have something movement or energetics associated with this sketch as well.
Well, I said it's a large stone or monument, and it's energetic. So
Yeah, the energetics. What kind of energetics were you feeling?
I think I feel the density of the mass.
Oh, well, the energetics, were you thinking in terms of movement, electromagnetic energetics, heat?
I think that's more magnetic. The density of the mass, how its effect.
I see.
Yeah, something that huge has an effect on its surrounding areas.
That's interesting. Well, Rock, you actually, with your method of remote viewing, you have a variety of different images, perceptions, visuals, and we pack them together into what we, seem to have as a coherent story. I think the coherent element of this seems to be a conflict of some type. And it's a violent conflict with some death on the ground, an area of destruction, and some type of detonation that occurs outside of a vehicle. And I can only assume that vehicle must be important, otherwise it wouldn't have showed up in the session.
Targeted.
Yeah, it can't be, and bulletproof glass, so it can't be just like a random car that's in the area of destruction. So someone or something is important seems to be inside that vehicle, if it has bulletproof glass and if there's a concussive event that happens nearby. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. This could happen anywhere on the world, so we'll see what happens. And
Well, it was a decent session. We'll see. Every session's unique, but we will see.
yeah, and again, the audience needs to remember that we're not saying that these exact solitary targets are going to, or sessions or events are going to happen exactly as depicted, but because of the issue of multiple timelines. You cannot escape the issue of multiple timelines. But very often, the exact event is described in the session. But the general nature of all of the sessions does give us a very clear characteristic way of describing what's going to happen in the month. It's going to be a calm month, a disruptive month, what kind of stuff is going on. And this is sort of one part of the picture, and we make the sort of judgment for the month after we go through all of them. So, Rock, thanks so much. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sometimes we see things like this, especially the destruction path, and the remote viewer absolutely doesn't want these things to unfold.
No, we don't want it, but this is a news forecast. The real purpose of this is to demonstrate to people that remote viewing works, and most people, or many people, have the idea that if it works, the only thing they would believe is to have something remote viewed before it happens. So it's not saying that there'll be a violent event next or in July. What it's saying is that these elements in the violent event will be part of the picture. So it's very unusual for those elements to show up in sort of a collective, coherent way, connected way. And that's sort of evidence of remote viewing actually working. And when you look at all of our sessions from all of the viewers and so many things just hit, then it's very convincing. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to cause the events. We're trying to forecast the events in order to demonstrate to people that the remote viewing is real. And thus, in our own way, eventually, slowly but surely, change the way people on the planet think so that they accept these greater realities.
You know, one of the most incredible things that the fundamentals that you end up accepting because you see it you work time and time again is if the tasker, the person choosing the target to the remote viewers, may not have picked the target, but the remote viewers go ahead and do their targets, self-tasking, and then they merge at the timeline. When the tasker picks the target, the targets may already have been completed by the viewers, but they all, in an amazing synchronicity, line up.
Yeah, actually, Rock, that's, the audience might be interested. That's what we do specifically with our economic forecasting method. Part of the target is known in advance, blind to the remote viewers. The remote viewers don't know it. But then the other elements of the target are added after the forecast period is over with CGI software, so that we are remote viewing what the target will be when it's constructed. And the rules for constructing that with CGI software are determined now. So by looking at what the target looks like, we look for the verifiable part that we know exists now. And then we look for the other stuff to give us an idea of what's going to happen, because the other stuff is placed in the target following rules. Relative to the, what happens in an economic sense with the currency or stock prices or whatever. Anyway, this is great, Rock. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now we wait and we see. Okay, everybody. Okay, so let's draw some conclusions from these data. Aziz Brown reports on a large confrontation between what looks like the police and protesters in an urban area. Interestingly, he finds himself attracted to some kind of ninja-dressed guy who has a mentor. Kahmia Dunson also reports on protests in an urban area. To me, that area sort of looked like Washington, D.C., but we will have to see about that. Melena Hall reported on military people walking in and out of a large structure. And I don't know about you, but that really looked like something similar to National Guard troops being called out. So we'll have to wait and see. So these three reports by Aziz, Kahmia, and Melena all seem to suggest that the protests of late May and much of June are not really over. Seems like more's on the way. Then Princess Jeaneé reports on some kind of combination, man-made and natural disaster in an area that has both a mountain and a nearby city. It sort of looks like either a mountain on fire or a volcano, but whatever it is, human activity makes the situation worse. I am wondering if deforestation is an element here. Again, we will have to wait and see what happens in July. Trudy Benjamin reports on a water event that impacts an urban area, possibly with major flooding. Personally, I wondered if there is a connection between the reports by Princess and Trudy. In both, we have an event that impacts an urban area, and there could easily be a natural event that is made worse by human activity. Finally, Arkie reports on destruction in an urban area, and I wondered if that was connected to the other reports involving protests and destruction. But Rock also reports on some kind of maritime conflict, human beings being trafficked in shipping containers on a boat, antenna belting out pulses of energy, a very strange concussive event that impacts the bulletproof window of a vehicle, and finally, a missile launch. It seems clear to me that Rock's sessions involved perceptions of more than one event for the month, so it will be very interesting to watch the month of July roll out, so to speak. Now, remember what I have told you many times. Our universe works on the level of multiple timelines, and what we do is get a sample of future timelines with our various remote viewing reports to get an idea of the general nature of those timelines. So This approach has worked amazingly well in the past. So what we have this month in July 2020 is considerable overlap among some of our remote viewers, especially with respect to urban protests and the consequent governmental response. But there is also some diversity among our reports as well. Other things will happen as well, including what appears to be some natural events. Basically, July seems complicated, filled with news stuff that is both hugely significant as well as multifaceted. So that is it for our July 2020 edition of Farsight Human News, the news before it happens. Thank you so much for watching. Please also join us next month in August 2020 for another look into the future of Earth humans. Also be sure to look for the new releases on farsightprime.com this month, including the Farsight ET News on July 7th, the July 8th live intelligence briefing with myself, the major new mysteries release on July 15th, the Eye of the Sahara, the next Farsight 2-month economic forecast, and more live stream events. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight.